everyone, Gina with Belly Beads. So happy to be here and thank you for joining me in this tutorial. Today I'm going to bring you a tutorial on how to roll the 16mm bead. I had a lot of my followers request that I actually roll a 16mm bead. They seem to be having difficulty when they're cutting out the bead with either, their machine or their hands or a rotary cutter. They're having difficulty actually rolling it. So I'm here today to bring you a tutorial on my 16mm bead. And I typically I usually make very, very tiny beads. But I wanted to venture out and create some large ones so there would be a focal point either for my bracelets or my necklaces or my anklets. And I'm so excited to bring this to you. Now, as always, I become very bored with just doing one thing. Not being bored with my paper beads, but just creating bracelets and necklaces with the same materials. So I ventured out. I love incorporating different fibers and just different materials for my paper beads. I love them and I want to just express them a little bit more. So I'm so excited to be here with you today and I hope you enjoy this. So let's get started. Now this is a 16mm bead. And with that comes about 5 strips that you have to use. So I'm going to bring this in here into the camera. So it'll be a little bit easier to focus on. So here I have 5 strips. And this is going to be my 16mm bead. With that, I'm going to need a very fat, very large paper bead roller. Now this paper bead roller is about 5/16. But just get a very large roller and you need your glue. Now I usually use a glue stick. Couldn't think of it. I usually use a glue stick, but I found that the Clear Elmer's glue wasn't as sticky and it held a whole lot better. So I'm excited to use this as well and keep my paper beads intact. So let's begin. The most important thing is, I know this is strange, but I'm a big fan of understanding paper and this paper and the weight of the paper. Now, if you haven't seen my other videos, I encourage you to go take a look at them because it may help you with understanding measurements and the weight of the paper. When you have a piece of paper that you're working with, now this is cardstock and I get this from a paper pad. When you work with paper, you're going to find that some have a different weight to it and different feel to it. Some may be thicker, some might be a little bit lighter. That's going to dictate the size and shape of your paper bead. It may come out larger. Usually thicker becomes larger and thinner paper. You're going to need a lot more strips to that, but it's going to be a little smaller. So I think understanding the paper weight is really important when you are determined to create that perfect bead, as I always am. So this paper weight is a 60-pound paper weight. I usually don't work with 60-pound, but I love the paper. The tie-dye is in, if you haven't noticed it, and I see so much of it. And I thought I was so fortunate enough to find a tie-dye paper. So this is scrapbooking paper, cardstock, and it's 60-pound. And it is a little harder, and I can understand how some of my followers mentioned when they're rolling it, their hands start to hurt because it is very thick. So let's get started. Before I ever start, I always condition my paper. And that means I pull it through. Now, as if you notice, it's starting to curl up. You want that to happen. It'll make it easier when rolling. So I'll start with my first strip. I will get my roller and place it in the slot. Oops. that will happen. And I'm glad these things happen on videos so I could try to show you what you need to do. Now, you can do one of two things. You can hold it and still wrap it around, or I sometimes will just crimp it a little bit, and it's okay to crimp it. Let's see if you could see that. And then just place it in the slot. Sometimes it happens because the pin is very large inside the diameter of the pin and it doesn't catch. So that usually helps. The most important thing you want to do is make sure that you are lining up your beads your paper when you are rolling it. So just take your time and keep rolling. But while you're rolling, make sure that each of the edges are always straight, because if they start to, and they will, they'll start to go off onto another path of their own. You want to, corral them back into the middle. Now, right before you get to the end, the end, you want to dab some glue onto the edges and then just roll it. And I would just hold it for just a moment. And then at that moment, while that's drying, I kind of take a look at it and make sure it's all even. All right, I'm going to get my second strip, condition it. Now at this point, I'm going to place some glue at the top, and that's going to connect from at the end of the first strip. And as you can see, they line up. Now, I usually cut my paper with my Cricut cutting machine. It just makes for a more smoother outlines of the paper, more crisp cuts. But if you're cutting with a rotary cutter, just take your time. That's just as fine. And also, I also have a business, so I need to create a whole lot of strips, per hour. So that's why I also have a cutting machine. But I actually started out with scissors. I'll never forget that. Now here comes my third strip. Conditioning it. When I started out with scissors, it was nice. And I made a few things, and then all of a sudden people wanted to buy them, and it was getting too great and my hands were hurting. So I decided to go with a rotary cutter, and that worked out fine. But then again, my hands were starting to hurt a whole lot more. I couldn't keep up with the production. So I decided to purchase a Cricut machine, cutting machine. And if you do decide to purchase a Cricut, I also have videos on how to create, for the beginner, how to create the strips. All right, so now we're going on to our next strip, and we're almost there. I conditioned my paper, and I'm going to connect it. I feel like I'm out of the camera here. Okay, I'm going to connect it right to the other one. Now, it may look like it's off, but it's not. And I'm going to roll that one. Now, look how big it is. Now, a lot of people have been asking me, it just gets too large to handle. But if you just take your time, you don't have to rush with this. And just make sure that the papers line up. And if you have to, you can put this down for a moment, because it is a large bead and your hands may hurt you. And I think we're done with our last strip. So we're going to finish that one up. And there we go. We have our last strip. I'm going to line that one up. And here we go. We're going to start rolling this one. And take your time, especially for the very last one, because see all those ridges? You want to really make sure that you have the last one lined up perfectly. And look at that. It's going so perfect. And you want to go ahead, put the glue on the last ends of it. And I like to put a little extra glue on the end, and then roll it, just roll it through. Okay, and then I want to push. I don't want to pull that off. And there you go. Look at that pretty. And then when you're done, you can put the grommets inside of it, and I'll show that to you as well. But before we show you the bracelets, I want to show you also what's really neat is with this one, and I've done it, which is really cool. I've incorporated and I've changed the paper with other colors. So let me get another color, and you're going to see this is all my tie-dye. This is actually all my tie-dye paper, and I thought it was really cool, and I love the color. So look at this color. It's like a red tie-dye. So I'm going to actually incorporate some of these papers into it. I'm going to condition my paper, thread it through, and then roll. Alrighty. Now I'm going a little fast. I don't recommend you going that fast. If you're new to this, just take your time. Now I'm going to grab, now the second piece of strip for this is this one. So I'm going to grab it in the red. And it is right here. It's this strip right here. And there's also another cool thing you can do. You don't have to use all your strips. And I'm going to show you why. Here comes another color. Now you're going to think, oh, it's just covering up the purple one. Not really. You can still see it. But I'm going to do every other one this color, and it's really, really neat. And then I'm going to get the next color. And it's for this one. Now I'm going to do this one. Condition my paper. Place some glue at the top there. And you can mix and match all your paper. I think it's just neat. I think it just gives a different, unique look to your beads. See, you can see the purple. You can even go with a totally different color, solid color paper. You can go with a purple one to underneath of it. All right, so here comes, oh, that's not good. There we go. I'm going to use the pink one, but you can tell it's different colors throughout. So now I'm going to use this one. Where'd it go? There it is. Even though you're going to see a lot more of the orange, as we get towards the end, you'll notice the different colors. And also, I don't know if anyone's ever noticed, once you've glazed these, now I use a PC petrifier to harden my beads. And I feel like that's just me. I have to have them hard because that's what's going to create the durability in them. I can't just glaze them because then you're wasting a lot of your glaze. It will absorb. Now you see that it's orange? I'm going to get the very last. The last one is this one. But you're going to see a lot of the orange through this. And this paper actually has some orange in it. So this is going to be really neat. Okay, and I'm going to go see how pretty. It just gives it a different type of look. You can see the oranges on the edges. And again, you can use any kind. You can interact all your different, your strips with other colors. I just think this is wonderful. And now remember, push. And look at that. Isn't that a perfect hole? And there is the bead. you can see the oranges through it and all the colors. I just love this. And you can do this with all of them. So here are the different ones that I have. So we did this one first and this one. Now, if you'd like, you can keep building on this bead. It'll just get bigger and bigger. But don't use like the third strip if you wanted to create big. Just keep using the first one and the second one. But I can show that in another video in the future. Now, let's take a look at all the creations that I've made with that 16 millimeter. Now, this is the one that I love. I incorporated different fibers. I sometimes become bored with just plain silver, the wire. So although I love that, I like to, just be a little different. And this thread, I actually found, it was I think it was in Pinterest, and it was just this. And I thought, this is really neat. So I kind of figured it out and how they made it. And I just thought it would bring such vibrant colors to my beads. And then I finished it off with a tassel, and who does not love tassels? I love them. And I make them, so I love the tassels. And that material that I was showing you, I also make it and I sell it on my website in my store. So look at these colors, and there's endless ideas that you can create with it. If you have blue beads, you can put them together. You can roll the string around them. You can actually make anything really. You can just twist them. You can twist them, and you can create a bracelet with them. I mean, there's so many possibilities, and they're so pretty. They're really pretty colors. All right, and here is another one of my one of those beads, and I've been loving the new look that I've been incorporating with my paper beads. I've gotten into macrame, and I adore the way it just gives it a different look, the beads. Now, this is a Chinese staircase, I believe, and learning a little bit about them. And I think that just gives it a little different of a flair to it. And I love my tassels on it. And this is an adjustable one. This is adjustable. So, and I like to use a lot of the adjustable bracelets because it's easier. And I made it with this cord, which is really kind of neat. And also, I mean, you can also use, these are really cool too. These are memory wire round bracelets. Now, I've just received these, and I know that you just undo these and unscrew them, and then you can place, let's see, where's our bead? You can place a bead in it. Now, of course, this is not glazed yet. And you can put many beads on it. And then there goes one. But when I mentioned about the core, if you're going to show your bead, I mean, it's up to you, but I really like to finish it off with a core. And this is a silver grommet, and I glued them into it. Now, I don't glue them in before I glaze or use a PC petrifier. Once I've glazed and they're complete, then I place them in there and glaze them. And I glue them. And then I have this one. Now these, of course, these are just gemstones I purchased. And of course, that's the paper bead. And this is also an adjustable. I try to do a lot of adjustable bracelets. I feel that it's just a little easier and it's inexpensive. And then, of course, we used our other, I showed you that one, and the tassels. And that's about it. I had so much fun making this, and there's so many other materials that you can incorporate with your beads. So just go ahead and have fun. And if you have any questions, please just comment below, or you can direct message me. All right. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, and I look forward to a next video. If you like this video, please like it and share it and subscribe. Also, remember to click on the bell to remind you of any future videos that I have coming up. Thank you and have a great day.